Hello and welcome. My name is Dante, and this is part one of a series I'm calling Flashback. So essentially, we're going to go take a look back at a bunch of the decks that used to get played in Legends of Runeterra at a high level and kind of try them out in today's current meta environment. So, a lot of these decks used to be meta staples, but were overshadowed at some point, either due to newly released cards, um, nerfs, or other big meta changes. So I'm going to be doing this as a weekly series, and I'll be looking for any and all suggestions on what decks to try out next. Um, I know a few of them that I definitely want to try out, especially the one that I have here today. But I'll be looking for a lot of kind of viewer feedback in the coming weeks on what to do next, because there's a lot of decks out there that have been good in the past but have just been overshadowed or have fallen kind of out of the meta, that I want to take a look back at and see, could they be good still? Um, Especially with like card tweaks, new cards that were added, and other things like that. So the first one that I want to start with today is essentially tale as old as time. Sorry, tale as old as time. Uh, Piltover's on Shadow Isles Control. So there's been a deck like this since the very early days. It's not as popular right now, especially since we have things like Darkness, which kind of takes that place as the Shadow Isles Control deck. Um, but I think it's still a really solid region combination because you can pretty much just keep removing everything, like all of your opponent's units, till the end of time. So it's always pretty fun to play for me because you just say no a lot to whatever they put down on the board. So I want to take us back, way back, to what the deck used to look like. And as you can see, this was a very long time ago. So this was, it says last update 2 years ago. Um, so this is actually the first deck I used to reach Masters for the first time. Was a pretty similar list to this. So your champions are Elise and Vi. They're not necessarily built around those champions. They're mostly there for board control or removal. Um, in particular, Elise worked really well with the spider package that this used to run. You ran a couple frenzied skitterers, and you ran Brood Awakening. So Brood Awakening actually used to be 5 mana, which is part of why this deck in this current form, or I mean in this spider form, fell off a bit, is when Brood Awakening got changed to 6 mana. So you could consistently on turn 3 drop this and have a bunch of 2/1 spiderlings, and not a lot of decks could deal with that kind of board at that time, unless they were other control decks and had sweepers. But you could just jump block things like the Demacia decks for quite a while, just using one or two of these. Um, so that's essentially your early game. Is you're gonna put down a bunch of spiders. You're gonna pressure your opponent and their board, to make them trade away some of their units that they might need later. Um, and then in the mid game, you really just start shooting everything. So you have a whole suite of removal. Get a bunch of thermo beams, mystic shots, vile feasts, get excited, gotcha, static shock, grasp of the undying, withering wail, vengeance, and ruination. So all of these kill things, and that's essentially the thesis of the deck, if you will. You just put a couple things down on the board for early stability, potentially get a bit of like aggro damage in with that, and trade away some board, and then you just kill everything that they put down. Then once you get to the kind of mid to late game, so turn 6 to 10 ish, you're looking to land Vi to kind of remove any big threats off the board because she has Challenger. She actually used to have 5 health as well, so she could trade with anything that had 5 attack and still have 1 damage left to take. She used to be even stronger in this style of a deck. And then as our very top end, we have 3 copies of Commander Ledros, and then 2 copies of Karina Varasa. So Karina used to be really strong because games used to take a bit longer, and then since you're running such a high spell density, her play effect, where you obliterate the top 5 cards of your deck and deal 1 to all enemies and the Nexus for each spell obliterated, used to consistently get like 3 damage off of this at least, which is enough to wipe most boards on turn 9. Especially since you can do a bunch more incremental damage with these cards. So they used to be really strong. And then Ledros essentially is how you end the game. So each time you land him, you deal half the Nexus damage, and then you can just slowly whittle them away with everything. The mirrors for this used to be absolutely brutal. You basically just sit staring at each other until turn 9, where you both land a Ledros, and then you just keep doing that for a while until one of you dies. They took like 30 minutes. It wasn't a great time. So I'm kind of glad that isn't around. Like, no one else is playing this deck right now, so we don't get that mirror. So this is the old deck. So a few strengths of this region combination: you have a lot of removal. You can pretty much remove anything you need to remove. You also have just an insane top end to the deck, where most decks aren't going to be able to keep up with you if you get to turn 9. Now, this started to get overshadowed when things like Hush or other permanent silences were available in the meta, because once he is silenced, is not worth that much. Or even something like the Sunburst card, which is silence and deal 6. That takes care of him very effectively for 6 mana, so you're very behind on curve if someone plays that on you. And then also, it just has a hard time generating card advantage. As you can see, there's really no draw in this deck. I mean, this had 1 Glimpse Beyond, but that's really not going to get you very far. So you kind of run behind super value-oriented decks. And that's part of why it got pushed out of the meta a bit, especially with things like Vandal City coming into vogue, is they can just generate infinite units more than you can actually deal with over the course of a long game. So you need other options to be able to deal with them. So this is my current version. So this is my flashback version that I'll be playing and putting onto this video. And there's a lot of changes to it. So as you can see, dropped Vi entirely. She's way less strong at the 4 health mark. Still potentially something you could put in, but not something that I'm going to rely on to win. And then we have a bunch of new faces in the followers. So we dropped the spider package entirely. 1 health units are not in a great place right now because there's a lot of pings running around to deal with things like the Ken and Ari decks or any other aggro deck. So you kind of get incidentally targeted by that. So instead of running the Sentinel package, so if you haven't seen these, so basically if they're on the board and you kill a unit, so slay a unit with a spell, these permanently get +2/+1. So Burgeoning Sentinel will end up as a 1 mana 3/3 fearsome if you're able to kill one of the opponent creatures with a spell. Same with the Buru Sentinel, +2/+1, so you'll end up as a 3 mana 5/4 fearsome. So sometimes these in conjunction with Elise are actually just enough to close out a game, especially against things like Vandal City decks that don't have a lot of 3 power plus units. They're pretty strong, and they can really help you get there. So that's kind of how we're pressuring in the early game now that we don't have spiders. Then we have a ton of removal spells, So Go Hard is one of the additions that came out in the time since this deck was originally created. Very good at just pinging things down. Also works really well in conjunction with Catalog of Regrets, which I'll get to later. Sometimes you'll cast Pack Your Bags. So that's the 5 mana, deal 5 to everything on the opponent's side of the board. Oops, sorry. So that's really a strong addition to this deck. course, you have your Mystic Shots, your Vile Feasts. We run one Aftershock, can help take care of landmarks, as well as just dealing 3 to anything. Can be good to finish off face at the end. I run one Despair. This is really good in particular against something like Vagar or Lysandra, which have really low power stats, but have high health stats and can be hard to kill with damage. Running a couple gotchas, dealing 3 damage is pretty good. A lot of things have 3 health. One of the box that can punish Ken and Ari players, as well as other swarm type strategies. A couple of Withering Mist, Withering Whales to deal with wide boards. Shock Blasts to do the same thing. They can also deal with wide boards and hit face, so it can be another way to close out the game. This card in particular is really good in this deck. It came out as part of the Jace expansion. Then we have Atrocity, which can help us finish the game with Ledros. And then we run a couple Vengeance and Ruination to clear the board. Of course, we still have Ledros at the top end. I only run 2 right now because 3 can get pretty clunky. We really only need one of them a game. And then a couple Pharaoh's Financiers. So the 6+ cost spell pool in these regions is really strong. So we're going to be able to pull things like the Shock Blast, Atrocity, Vengeance, Ruination. You can also pull the Harrowing to just get all your dudes back and attack for a turn. So there's a lot of really good options. There's also Progress Day if you need draw. So there's a lot of really cool things you can get off of him. And then Catalog of Regrets. So this one helps you with that card advantage problem that I talked about earlier. So you don't have a lot of natural draw. You actually don't have any draw. You're drawing 1 card a turn. That's pretty much it. Like this creates a card, but that's pretty much all you get. So you're going to be relying a lot of your spells to kind of 2 for 1 in one way or another. And then you also look at your Catalog of Regrets. So this will help copy your spells that you play each round. In particular, it's very good with Go Hard because you can just cast Go Hard a bunch of times and eventually get to pack your bags, and that's enough a lot of times to get the win. And you can also do it with a lot of the other kind of like health gain cards against aggro decks. You can even get more Ruinations, Vengeance, etc. So there's a lot of really good options to get off of it. And it gives you some of that card advantage you wouldn't otherwise have. So I've been testing this. It's actually done really well so far. I think I'm like 10-5 with it. Once I start playing for this video, I'll probably go like 0-5, but I guess we'll find out, won't we? All right. So let's go ahead and get over to the gameplay. Sentinel here. I think that's okay. I'll let that go. I've got the Go Hard, so I have a little buffer on health. I'm gonna go for the Elise here. I don't think they have any turn 2 play that has 3 power. I don't think so. Okay, another cat. Alright, so we're getting it for a bit of damage here. We have Go Hard that we can use next turn if we want. This also gets us a Spiderling blocker. Okay, they're going to go digging. So they've got double Hexite Crystal that they just shuffled into the deck here. So I've got to be pretty careful on that. Okay, Time Trick. So they're pretty well on their way. Okay, so they got the Hexite Crystal here. So I've got to be pretty careful about committing to a board. At least a lot of my things have 3 health. Okay, so I'm going to go hard here. They could Hexite Crystal in response to kill off the Burgeoning Sentinel. That's possible. So, making them think about it at least. Okay, they're gonna do it. It's fine. Okay, so at least I know I got it out. Okay. Kind of want to keep that Elise around. Okay, box is actually that's really important for later if they go for a for a big rally off of a chrono break, because they will all have entered the field that turn. 4 spells in their top. So as you can see, I'm running out of cards a little bit here. That doesn't really do much. Okay, so probably Echo next turn. I think they just got him leveled. Or no, next one. Okay. Ooh, gotcha. Nice. So if they do put down the leveled Echo this turn, I have an easy way to kill him. Okay, no Echo this turn. Okay, another drop order coming down. These all came down this turn, right? That's just a little too juicy to pass up, to be honest. Maybe I should have saved that, but the less units they have on the board at any given time, the less scary their whole deck is. Okay, so we've got a Ruination. Nice. That's awesome. So Ruination can also bail us out in one of those chrono break turns. Okay, so here comes the Zillion. A little late. They really wanted that early so they could get the get his little time bombs off. He could still get a time bomb next turn though. Yes. So I pretty much killed the Echo on sight. Okay, now the Ruination. Didn't really need the second one, probably. It's a little clunky. I'd rather have a way to end the game right here. So either some direct burn, a Ledros, atrocity, anything like that. Okay. There's the Echo. Okay, I'll safety block here just in case they Absolver the Echo. Okay, they do. So now they're thinking of whether to use the Overwhelm or not. They don't. Okay. We're in a bit of a scary position now because I don't really have much going on. These two ruinations kind of bricked my draws a little bit, and now they could have a chrono break at any given moment now. That's too scary to commit into because they could have a time bomb to just wipe my entire board. Okay. Okay. So I do have the thermo beam to put him down. But so close. They have no way of healing. If I just grab like Shock Blast next turn, I'd be able to get this. Okay, gonna put some blockers down just to try and survive. Then I'm gonna go and do that. Just in case I do get the 3 damage next turn. Okay. This does mean that they can't chrono break their Echo here. So I can pretty safely kill the Echo. They could Absolver him again to keep him alive. Okay, got him this time. Ouch. Alright. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, my hand is just like kind of dead now. Like I don't have Ledros or anything like that. Excite Crystal. Hmm. Yeah, so I mean at this point I would really love some draw. That's something that these regions just don't have, is a whole lot of draw. So I'm kind of not doing anything right now. Okay, so I can at least get 2 in, hopefully. Or they're gonna... Oh, never mind. So yeah, they probably have like 3 chrono breaks in hand or something like that. Like, this probably isn't gonna end up too well for us. Yeah, we're just kind of like out of things to do. Because since I forgot that they had healing, I thought that they just didn't have it at all. It's fine. So I know that they have 2 off the Hexite Crystal. Okay. This still leaves Ruination open if they go for the Chrono Break. Just hope that they don't have another Chrono Break. after that because then I'm dead. So I can handle one chrono break with a Runation. Sure. So yeah, let's just go and hit the reset button. If they have another chrono break, I think I'm just straight up dead. Because that would be, yeah, that would be enough damage. That'd be 10 damage. Excellent. Okay, that's awesome. So I'm at least still in the game. Not with these draws, though. This is why no one plays this deck. Okay, so that's number 2 of the go hard. Now we're just passing to each other. Okay, I'll definitely slam down catalog here. This means I get another go hard next turn. Or I mean, that means I get the pack your bags next turn off of this. Because I'm at 2. Off of the catalog, I'll get my pack your bags. And shock blast, so that might be enough. Might just be enough. Unless they're running some kind of counter spell. Okay, catalog into go hard was pretty good there. They might just have enough burn to get me though. Okay. So hopefully they don't have enough burn at fast speed to get me. Okay, got it. Woo! That was intense. Barely scraped out of that one. I don't even know how we did it. Yeah. So we just got some lucky top decks, stalled out the game long enough. That Ruination was really clutch. Yeah, I guess you just run them out of units eventually before you run out of cards. You can eventually kill them. Yeah, so that was close. It's another reason why we have some of that direct damage in the deck, just so we can finish off late game. Alright, facing off with Plunder. I don't really know how we do into Plunder. I'm really tempted to keep one of these Ruinations. I think it's too slow though. I'd rather get an early game going. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think I can Sentinel here. Okay. Monkey Idol. I'll hit it with a perfect Thermo Beam here. That's pretty good. So now they have to, yeah, that denies them a lot of triggers right there. They're gonna have to work a lot harder. I'd rather just get my damage in here. Then potentially I can put down Catalog, then just start getting some of those down. Yeah, I think that was a good choice. And put Catalog down here. Okay, so we do have a blocker. Okay, copying Go Hard is pretty good too. Let's see what else they want to put down here. Okay. Now the Brewer Sentinel, because we'll try and kill something, either Mystic Shot or Go Hard. Kill that with Go Hard. Just make it as awkward as possible for them to get any damage in. Plus we get another Go Hard next turn. I'll go block here. Keep him healthy. Nice. Okay, that's pretty good. And put him down there too. They're still really low on triggers. So even if they do get their champions down, they're not really going to do a whole lot. Let's go and hit the zap. Then we can Vile Feast zap as well. This gets me another Vile Feast next turn. Because I haven't used the catalog yet. So that's why I'm doing it here. I kind of want to use catalog here. Okay. Go ahead and pass here. Because I know they'll attack with the Sejuani onto this. Then I can Vengeance Sejuani. Then I'll get another Vengeance in hand, so they can't really do anything next turn. Okay, just keep chipping away. Then I have like Aftershock, Mystic Shot to finish. And yeah, I mean, Vengeance kills a Dreadway or anything else they would want to put down this turn. Okay, so we're getting the harpoon out. Yeah, casting the Vengeance here isn't really worth it. So I'll go ahead and copy my Aftershock. This gives me a better chance of actually ending the game. Okay, so that's the third Go Hard. Okay. Hit that perfectly. Okay. So this gets me pack your bags next turn. Unless they finish me off like right now, I think I've got it. Ouch. So yeah, I still don't think that's enough damage. I'm at 6. I think I'm pretty safe at 6. since I have the pack your bags coming in this turn. Just cast that right away. Yep. Okay. That worked out pretty perfectly. Yeah, not much more to say about that one. That felt pretty strong. Got a lot of really good fearsome damage in. I think that chip damage really does add up because then you're pressuring their life total, and that makes it really hard for them to kind of make the game decisions at that point. All right, well, that is the end of our first flashback episode. So 1, 2 out of 3. I think this deck is actually still pretty strong, to be honest. I don't think it's tier 1 necessarily. Probably like tier 2, 2.5 ish. If you want to like segment the tiers like that. I think Darkness probably still takes the Darkness and Teemo Swain are still probably better control decks for right now because they use Bandle City. As you can see, like this is my current like tournament lineup. It's like triple Bandle City because that region as a whole is just insane right now. Because I think you do run out of cards in some cases in this deck, especially against these more value-oriented control decks. But anytime you're facing up against something like the aggro spiders deck, pirate aggro, or even as we just saw like plunder, you can definitely still take it using this style of a deck, which is just really good at killing a lot of units and ending the game with some kind of face damage. We actually didn't play Ledros once, even though it's called Ledros Control, and we still won 2 of the games. So it obviously, I think the Sentinel package is actually probably more important to it than Ledros right now, just because fearsomes are very strong. Not all decks can deal with fearsomes, especially in the first 3 to 4 turns. So you can get a lot of chip damage in that way, and it becomes another win condition when you're dealing that much face damage with your fearsome units. So it's another thing that your opponent has to deal with, and then you can come in over the top with either burn damage or something like Ledros. So it just gives them something else to think about. There are versions that are more all in on Ledros, or go for more of the Jace strategy, or have something like Senna in there to make all your spells fast. I like some of those. I just think this one's my favorite because personally I really like Catalog of Regrets. I think that's like just one of the coolest cards that they've ever printed, and I know it's not necessarily competitive because it's pretty slow, but in this deck it works pretty well, especially with Go Hard and other small things like File Feast 2. It also lets you double up on your face damage a lot of the time, so there's a lot of really good interactions for it. So all right, have a good one, and thanks for tuning into our first episode of Flashback. These will be coming out every single week, and I'd love to hear any more suggestions on ones you'd like to see me do next. Cheers.